I'm Veena Jetti, and I'm so excited about today's topic. Did you know that 32% of teenagers don't know something as basic as the difference between a credit card and a debit card? And 46% don't even know what a retirement account is. I want you guys to learn how I talk to my kids about money. So today we're going to review the 5 things I teach my kids. Today we're going to be talking about 5 principles that you absolutely need to be teaching your kids so that they learn about money the right way. So the first one seems kind of simple, but talk about money. In 2021, Greenlight study found that 74% of teens don't feel confident about their financial education. And what's worse is that 59% of parents surveyed admitted that they were uncomfortable talking to their kids about money. Not only is the youth not getting the financial education that they need, but it's never too early to start teaching. So if you don't know, I have 3-year-old twin daughters, and we talk about money all the time in our house. There is nothing that is off limits, and we actually started talking to them from the time they were babies, and we talk about money, we talk about what things cost, we talk about going to the bank. I even go so far as to hand them physical dollars, which I'll admit, we don't spend a lot of cash in our household. We like to swipe our credit cards or use our phones to pay for everything, but I do keep dollars around the house so that I can actually give them money so they get used to handling it and feeling it and knowing what money is. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable about this topic, and it's not a topic that's uncomfortable for us as parents to talk about with our kids either. So the first and most important step is to just get comfortable talking about money. So the second thing I do with my daughters is I try to find real life examples that I can show them because they're only 3. They can't understand very complex topics. So I try to meet them at their level of education and understanding. A study by the University of Cambridge found that money habits in children are formed by the time they're 7 years old. That means my 3-year-olds are almost halfway to where they need to be in their money and financial habits. Using examples with toys is a great way to illustrate the concept of money. So when my daughters are playing with, you guys, if you have kids, you probably know these are mag formers, there's magnet tiles, building blocks, things like that. All of us have stepped on a million of these Legos, whatever. And so what I do is as my girls are building, they'll build like these little cubes and they'll come and say, "Mama, look, I built a house." And I'm like, "Great, let's talk about construction. If you want, you can be a developer one day." So I'll take one of these and I'll say, "Okay, let's say that this costs $1. How much did it cost for you to build this house?" And so we'll take this and we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we say, "Okay, Mama, it's $6 to build this." And I go, "Great. If this costs $6 to build and we want to make a profit, which means we want to have more money after we pay for the products or the cost of goods sold, what do we need to charge if we want to sell it to Daddy or to Sissy or to your grandparents?" And so, usually they'll come up with a number that doesn't make any sense. Like, "I want to sell it for 2 monies." I'm like, "Okay, so you're going to lose money on this because it cost you $6 to build." But we talk about concepts like that. And the key is repetition. We do it over and over and over. We don't just talk about it once. This is a conversation that happens almost every day in our world. So using toys and meeting them where they are is a great way to teach them examples and show them real world problems that they can apply money skills to. Number 3 is developing the proper response to "I want." If you have toddlers, you hear this all day long. "I want this, I want that, I need this, I want that." And if they don't get it, total meltdown. One of the most important ingredients for maturity and leadership that parents can pass on is ownership. Helping children understand that they do not own anything and that they're borrowing their stuff is crucial for them to grasp the idea of responsibility. So when they're asking consistently for "I want, I want, I want," you want to have a way to give them what they want and teach them how to get it without just handing it to them. So that leads directly into tip number 4. Tip number 4, which is maybe my personal favorite, is steering them to entrepreneurship. A survey of 500 children concluded that the top choice for jobs they wanted to be when they grew up were 1, a pro athlete, 2, a doctor, 3, a teacher, and 4, a veterinarian. Entrepreneurship is something that is not taught to the youth, but 81% of millionaires considered themselves to be self-made. That is so crucial and so important when my girls tell me what they want to be, and it's not, being a giraffe or whatever unrealistic thing that they sometimes say, I always like to steer them toward entrepreneurship, because that's how I made my money, and that's how my parents taught us to be self-made. My mom is a very successful real estate investor, and so what she did was she introduced these concepts to me at a very young age, and now I'm taking that, building on that foundation and passing it on to my kids. So one of the things I do, you might ask me if you have really young children, how can you possibly teach a 3-year-old about entrepreneurship? I'm proud to say about 2 weeks ago, my girls opened their first business. They wanted to go to the store and they wanted to buy some, candy, whatever kids want. It changes every 2 seconds. But they wanted to buy some candy. And I said, okay, great. How are you going to afford it? Do you have any money? And they go, oh yeah, I do. It's here. And I was like, that's not real money. That's just your hand. The store doesn't accept that. We need to make some real money. So I told them, okay, let's talk about what kind of a business we can start. And I guided them toward a lemonade stand. Super easy, common kids business to start. And what we did was we went to the store. So I take them to Walmart. I'm like, okay, what do we need to sell lemonade? And, they're coming up with ideas. We need lemonade, which good. We need cups. We need a sign. And, of course, it's going to take a little bit of coaching and nudging from me. And then we put it all in the car. And when we got to the register, I said, okay, great. How are you going to pay for this? And they were like, I don't have any money. I was like, that's right. So maybe you could ask mommy to be your first investor. So they're like, okay, mama, can you be an investor? And I said, yes, of course, I'm willing to believe in you. I will bet on you. This is going to cost $25. How are you going to pay me back? And they said, with the money from the lemonade. And I said, great, that's a great idea, but I'm going to need interest on this. So how much interest are you going to pay me? And they go, okay, we'll pay you 5 monies. And I said, okay, great. On $25, you're going to pay me $5 in interest. Awesome. So at the end of this, you're going to owe me $30. And I'm having this conversation in real time with them at Walmart. And yes, everybody around me is looking at me like I'm a crazy person, because I probably am. But I really want them to understand this concept that things are not given to you. You have to earn them. You have to think through how you're going to spend the money, what you're going to do with it, and know that there's going to be an obligation to repay the loan, even from mama. And so we go home. I have them, create their poster board. Obviously, I helped with penmanship, and I ask them, how much do you want to sell your lemonade for? And they came up with the idea to sell it for 5 monies. And, they're 3, so they don't really understand the cost of things. And I was like, girls, inflation has gone up, but not quite that much yet. So we set it at $5, and then Mama helped them put that on sale for $1. And we invited all of the grandparents in the neighborhood, all of the friends, everybody. And we set up right outside of the school, and right on a Friday afternoon. It was nice and hot out. And I actually had them go sell the lemonade. When someone gave them a $5 bill, I had them count how much change they had to give back from a $1 sale. So we counted out $1, $2, $3, $4. And that's really how they got used to the concept of exchanging. And then by the second, third, fourth glass, they were much better about it. And they're only 3, so this is just the start of a lifelong lesson that I'm trying to instill in them. But it's never too early to start talking to your kids and teaching them about entrepreneurship, especially if you're passionate about building generational wealth and teaching the next generation to be self-sufficient like I am. The 5th and final tip is to involve your children in adult conversations, especially surrounding money. For example, scheduling a family vacation rarely happens overnight and often takes deliberate planning and budgeting. While most parents hide these details from their children, they are in fact robbing them of valuable education. That's what I believe personally. So anytime we're talking about any kind of budgeting, any kind of financial concepts, I don't hide it from my children. I don't wait to discuss it in private with my spouse. I want them to be comfortable knowing and understanding that mommy and daddy make these decisions on a regular basis. And my parents did the same with us. When I was a kid, my mom would take me to closings, and I'm an old lady, so we didn't have iPads and phones back then. It was super boring, but we'd hang out in the closing room while they're talking through the details of escrow and earnest money and what kind of true up there is. And all of these words were words I was exposed to from the time I was like 4 or 5 years old all the way through adulthood. And as I got older, they found more practical and tangible ways to continue involving me in the conversation when they were making decisions about buying or selling an asset that we had, or CapEx budgets in one of the assets. They would always make sure my sister and I were around to hear it, and they even took input from us, and we were able to voice our opinions. Now, of course, they weren't always the best opinions, but they at least listened to it and heard what we had to say and then discussed it with us. And sometimes when they could, they would implement it, and that's really important. So I try to make sure that my kids are being heard, and when they have questions about money, I never shy away from the discussion. That is so crucial and so important, because they're going to be adults most of their lives. They're kids for a very short amount of time. You want to prepare them for what happens after they fly out of the nest. And so that's something I always keep in mind when I'm talking about money, and about money around my children especially. If you want to learn more about money tips and building generational wealth, click the link below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out the next video.